And we're live.
All right.
Good to be back. Pablo, let's talk about the three things that you talk about that unite us as a people. Food, music, and sports.
That's right. And I don't say this. I mean, this has been said for many, many years, probably hundreds of years, you know. And, sports unite all the cultures,
Yeah.
music, and food. And all you have to do is take a look at the World Cup just finished. Argentina took, world champion.
They took it.
And look at the country.
Yeah.
I mean, they on that main street in Buenos Aires. I mean, there must have been I don't know how many people, 1 million people out on the streets, and they have very high emotions towards that. But that particular sports united them, and it's a wonderful thing to see.
Yeah.
Not only them, but the world actually, because I'm sure that when the finals came up, probably most people that live in Europe were rooting for potentially France, okay? And then more people that are in South
South
America
America.
and so forth, of course, are rooting for Argentina, you know?
Well, I don't know because Messi plays for Barcelona, which is in Europe, Spanish team. So I wonder
Yeah.
how many of the Barcelona fans are rooting for Messi, you know?
And Cristiano Ronaldo's wife is from Argentina.
That's true.
She for sure had to be rooting for,
Yeah.
especially if Portugal was out,
Yeah.
you know?
And they said it was the last time they won was in the 80s. So it was 36, 37 years since
Yeah.
Argentina had won. So now they have 3 World Cups under their belt.
That's beautiful. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that are extremely creative in every part of the world. And they came up with this song, in Argentina, I was born and they put Maradona up in heaven kicking a soccer ball with wings. And it's very emotional,
Oh, yeah.
extremely emotional. And it pulls you in. Whether you're from Argentina or not,
Yeah.
it just pulls you in. You hear that song, and it's just a beautiful thing. And they, of course, include, Messi, and so definitely sports unites us across the world,
Yeah.
no matter what culture you come from, no matter what culture.
Yeah. I think here in maybe America, in the United States, we don't realize how big soccer is for people. It's since you're born, you're playing, basically.
Yeah,
And so they get emotional over it. They're super passionate about it. And I think one of the reasons soccer, in particular football, is so um, uh, such an important thing for people's lives is because I think that even, let's say, the poorest people can play soccer. So they go out on the streets and you play street games. And I remember when my brother and I, Paul and I, went to Costa Rica, we found a pickup game.
uh-huh.
We were visiting Costa Rica and we found a pickup game with these kids who were super good, who were just playing on the cement basketball court, soccer there, and it was super cool, and it brought us.
Oh, you guys play.
We ended up playing pickup with them. They saw us kicking the ball around, and they're like, "Hey, you guys want to play?" Two completely different. We're coming from the United States. We speak Spanish, but they're the local kids from that little town, and it
That
was
is
really
super,
cool.
super cool.
And they were good. And that's the thing, is that soccer is in every corner of the world.
Absolutely. Well, I think that here in the United States, it's already uh, peaked.
It's definitely
Yeah, it's not like 20 years ago.
no.
Not at all. There's a lot of people now in the
Yeah.
U.S. that have realized. And okay, so we're talking about how it unites human beings and cultures,
Yeah.
but it is a tremendous business generating revenue in the billions.
Oh. Yeah.
So that also piques the interest of a lot of business people. of course, and they capitalize on it
Yeah.
because I mean, those tickets were going for quite a bit
Yeah.
of money, and they were scalping them out for even more. So, yeah, oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Are you
So,
gonna go to a game now that it's coming to North America?
of course, I'm not gonna miss it for the world.
Yeah, 20 in the on the next one. So what is that? 2026,
2026.
right?
No,
2026.
it's for every 4 years.
Yeah,
So we're yeah, 2026. Right. Okay.
it'll be here. So it'll be really cool. But sports, food, and then music.
Yeah,
Music is a universal language.
absolutely. I mean, people vibrate,
Yeah,
when you hear a good piano player or somebody sing like Whitney Houston. Every time I mean, she used to reach levels that what other human being can do? Not many. And, you see her, some of these folks are gifted,
yeah.
you
Or a
know?
guitar.
Oh,
Someone playing the guitar. It's
yeah.
just it
Those-
doesn't matter what language you appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because there's God given talent, but you still have to mold it. You
Yeah.
still have to put time and effort. Messi actually said that. He's very grounded. He said, he actually came out on an interview and Messi said, God gave me this talent. Without him, I couldn't be anywhere. And then he says, but of course, I tried to, you know, do the best I could with it and learn every day and take it to another level. But this was he credits God.
You know,
God gave him the talent. That was the end of that.
it's interesting because there's God given talent, and I was watching an interview with Ricardo Arjona,
Uh huh.
who is huge in Latin America, right, and musician. He was saying that at a very young age, his music teacher wanted to take him to like a conservatory of music to classically train him because he was good on the guitar and he could sing, but he didn't have any formal training.
Okay.
They took him to the conservatory and it was torture for him. He was crying and this and that. He came home that day and his father asked him, "What happened to you?" and or his mother, and he's like, "I don't want to go to the conservatory. I don't want to do that." And they said, "Okay, then don't do it. That's it." But he brought up in that interview, he says, "I wonder what would have happened. Would I have become maybe a better player, musician, because I would have been trained formally?" Because he has a God-given talent. But sometimes maybe that formal training to a certain, I know it's different with soccer and football, but would it have maybe taken away some of the uniqueness that he has because God touched him? And he's already huge and super famous. Would he was saying, would I have become more famous? Would I have become a better artist if I would have gone through the conservatory?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Ricardo Arjona is a poet,
Oh yeah,
musician. Some of these folks, like Juan Gabriel, I mean, um, the songs that they created are tremendous.
yeah,
And some of those songs really reach you. Because again, the most powerful thing on earth is words. If you use the right words, and they're very penetrating. Words can cause you to succeed or fail. And some words may even hurt someone to the point of,
yeah.
doing
They're
something
powerful.
crazy.
They're powerful.
So, and they just put those words in there. Who's the other guy? That other Spanish guy,
Joaquin Sabina.
Joaquin Sabina.
Yeah,
I mean, he's just incredible.
they're poets that
And
are also musicians.
Yeah, yeah, they play with the words, and we've mentioned Hispanic songwriters, but like I said, every part of the world has them. So there's in English,
Yeah.
there's in French, all over the world.
Yeah.
They just are able to play with those words and then put a beautiful tune to it, and
Yeah.
things take off.
Words are extremely powerful, but I remember taking piano lessons, and my Russian teacher, Miss Prizer, would say the notes themselves have, there's emotion to them. So it's
Okay, well,
interesting because you listen to a song that has no words, a classical music or something, and it could get you sad, happy based
sure.
on the way that it's played. So
Right.
words are powerful, the notes themselves, the music is powerful. So when you put those together, whew, that's why music. I was talking to over the weekend a friend who went to go see Bad Bunny, and she says that it's the best concert she's ever gone to.
Really?
It was at in San Diego at Petco Park,
Uh-huh.
which is where the Padres play, the baseball, and that she went to the bathroom and she could feel the stadium shaking from the
Wow.
people that were dancing, and no one was sitting down. And Bad Bunny he's a young guy and he's had this huge success, from Puerto Rico. And I was telling her, I was thinking, because I was just envisioning how it was. I was thinking that how powerful is music, huh?
Oh,
That he can bring. I mean, he set records. How many people he's bringing out there, and everybody's singing and dancing, and he's maybe giving them an escape from, let's say, their life, or maybe he's for that moment in time, you're not thinking about anything.
you forget it all.
And that I heard somebody say that when you're truly in the moment, you don't have your phone in your hand. This was his perspective on it. You don't have your phone in your hand. You're
Uh-huh.
not trying to record. You're actually just enjoying that moment. That's one thing I've thought about when I'm at a concert or when I'm somewhere and, let's say, hanging out with the nephews and the nieces and the family. It's like a special moment. Do I record it, or do I fully enjoy it and be in that moment? And that's a struggle that I always have to ask
I have
myself.
that struggle too because if you record it, you might capture a magical moment that we have forever.
Yeah.
But did you see it and live it to the fullest while you were recording it? There's always a give and take.
Yeah.
Uh, Jordan Peterson talks about equilibrium, a balance. There's always a give and take.
Yeah.
But most certainly, and I think it brings the most humble and beautiful feelings out of every human being. For example, yesterday, when we went to check out a couple properties, we just by chance we landed this coffee shop.
Yeah.
Everything was closed. I don't
Black.
know what it is on Mondays. A lot of places are
Yeah, that was
closed.
interesting. A lot of things were
We
closed.
couldn't find a coffee shop.
Out by Glendale area. I mean, we
Yeah.
were looking and it was
Oh,
all closed
yeah.
on
And,
Monday.
but we found this place, and the minute I walked in there, I felt like, wow, what a beautiful place.
We should shout them out. It was Black Cow Coffee.
Black Cow Coffee. And, the moment I walked in there, this may sound silly to many people, but I knew the coffee was going to taste great. The moment I walked in there, the coffee would have had to have been really, really bad for me to complain. It was everybody at every table had a smile on their face. The waiters and waitresses were tremendous attitude, super positive. They had the Christmas spirit all over the place because they had all their ornaments out. And then they have special touch, like the fans were all interconnected with those bands, so they were all
Belts.
moving in synchrony. And I love that stuff because that's engineering at its best. And so, one was moving, the other one, you had the belts going around. Um,
You had people next to us that were having a meeting. There were four ladies that were talking about I don't know if it was a book or something they're working on. There was the ladies outside. Also, I think it was four ladies, maybe talking about life or business. So, and there was a lady with her son. We like to observe,
right.
but food unites us. Everybody's there and they're all eating and they're happy because of the environment that they create. Later that day, we went to another place. We won't say where, but the servers were serious. The food didn't
Oh
taste as
yeah.
good. You know, you asked for a box to go, and they didn't even give you a little plastic bag. They didn't give you a box, and so it was one of those things that you could. It was a good contrast.
Oh.
But it goes to, we were talking about it yesterday, and I said, if the coffee's important, but how it's also, I would say, just as or more important, the people that you're sharing it with, the energy in the room,
The ambience.
the ambiance,
that is created.
because it makes the coffee taste better. It makes the food taste better.
Really, honestly, that's what I'm looking for now in my life. If I walk into a place and I just don't feel it, I try to figure out a way to, without causing any havoc or, making any big deal out of it. I just got a phone call, whatever the case is, and
You walk out.
I walk out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
But there are places like yesterday in the morning. That was a wonderful experience.
And then we walk a couple places
gonna tell
over,
you that,
buildings
yeah.
over, and we stumble across a bookstore, which is something that is now kind of rare to see. What was it called? The last? No, I'm sorry, the Lost Bookstore
The Lost Bookstore.
in Montrose.
I
Glendale.
loved it.
Yeah.
They have a bird cage in there.
Yeah, it was a huge.
Huge, very large actually, and birds in there.
Yeah.
They had an aquarium. Okay, aquariums are, you go into places, you
I
see
would
them
say
from time to time.
They had 1,000 plants.
Yeah,
I think it was
800,
1,000.
900, God knows what. But I know that the ceiling was moss, right?
Yeah. It was fake moss that was hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah, but and then,
Looked like a jungle almost.
yeah, I loved it. I bought 1, 2, 3, 4 books there.
Yeah.
4 books. I bought 4 books there. How often do I buy books? Because everybody's usually on, your phone, YouTube, this and that.
Yeah.
And another thing that I liked is that they had set where they're displaying their books, they had set the bookshelves kind of like in a form of a maze. I
Yeah.
had to go around to find you.
Yes, it's
You
not a
weren't-
library setup.
No, it's not a library setup where it's just a shelf and then another shelf and another shelf. This thing was concentric,
Yeah.
and I left you in one place, and then when I went to look for you, you weren't there. But I had to go all the way around, or realize I'm going backwards. If I go backwards, I just came from that. So, and
And later
they have
that
something special.
they do. It's an experience. I think that's what
Yeah.
you're looking for. And I think that's what a lot of people are looking for. Later that day, we went to Barnes and Nobles, which is another bookstore, which is much bigger, maybe 4 times the size, maybe,
And it was
as the
different.
Lost Bookstore. And it was different, but it was still busy.
But very busy, which I love
Yeah.
because I see the effort, I think, of parents trying to instill that idea to kids about how important it is to read a book.
A physical book.
Yeah, exactly. A physical book.
With the internet, we have access to all the books,
I know.
audio and on Kindles, and you don't have to buy the physical book anymore. When I was thinking about it, you talk a lot about the Library of Alexandria,
Yeah.
which was burnt down by Caesar,
Yes.
which was in Egypt, correct?
Yes.
So Caesar went to Egypt, or he sent his people, burns down the library, and apparently we lost a lot of history
Oh yeah.
in terms of, apparently there was some of the books that explain our origins, where we come from, and things like that. So when I see bookstores, and I remember reading in high school a book called Fahrenheit 451, which was about burning of books. And I think when you have the internet, how easy is it to delete anything? How easy is it to remove a book, a show, a podcast, a video, and that history is gone?
Yeah.
But when you still have physical books, you got to burn them to get rid of them. And so the drawback to having everything on the internet is that you don't have there's no protection from something getting deleted. You know, we've seen it where like a computer crashes or gets a virus, you lost everything on that computer unless you can somehow restore it.
Right.
And that's the thing that if we go complete, and I think people are realizing that that's why the bookstores are busy. I'd rather buy a physical book now that I know that it's, I think a better way of doing it. Plus I like writing in my book. And I know you can write on the Kindles and highlight things, but there's something different about writing something physically, notes down.
Of course. You
There's
put
some,
all your senses into it, so most likely you'll retain it longer, you know?
yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I like that. Hopefully there'll be a revival of bookstores because I believe a lot of them have gone under. And we're mentioned
Yeah.
two of the ones that, well, one of them is very large and the other one is unique and has been able to withstand, the test of time. But I know that there's a lot of them that have gone under because of the internet.
Yes.
But there's something to be said about when you want to read about certain things, like if you like engineering or if you like architecture, and you buy those books physically, then you start creating your own library. And that's beautiful when you create your own library
Yeah.
in
No.
a subject that you feel very committed
That
to.
you're interested in.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
that's the difference now going to a library. We went yesterday and we're picking out books on topics that are interesting to us. Like I'm getting close to finishing Meditations,
Uh huh.
which we'll talk about in another podcast. And it's a book that I picked out. It's a book that I'm interested in. And that's one thing that we were talking about. We were watching a podcast with Immortal Technique. The man is
Oh,
just extremely well versed in
my
history.
goodness.
I mean, extremely well versed in history. And so from the ancients to, the times of the Romans to the, you know, industrial revolution to, the wars that we fought. So every time I listen to him, I'm Googling things, I'm looking things up, and I'm learning.
Well, that podcast was brutal. Immortal technique. I mean, I learned a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I have to fact check him a little bit. But, oh, yeah, he comes across. And the thing is, okay, he comes across very confident in what he's saying and very powerful. And definitely, like you said, he's very well versed. So he must have been reading for a long time and accumulating knowledge and all this stuff. But it's also part of his experiences in life.
Sure.
So it gets woven into it. Not only what he's read, but I think one of the things that makes Immortal Technique so powerful is that he blends and weaves
Mm-hmm.
what he's lived
Real stories.
with the history that he's learning.
Mm-hmm.
And in the podcast, he said he had made a mistake on something. So I like that. When people, if you make a mistake, come out and say it.
Yeah.
Hey, I made a mistake. Nobody can ever expect for someone to be perfect because none of us are. So you make a mistake, just say it, own up to it.
Yeah.
Okay? And he did. So I respect him for that. But man, and he's young, right? This man is young. He's in his 40s or something?
40s. I think he's in his 40s.
No, he's extremely knowledgeable.
He's been in the rap game for
Yeah.
over 20 years. I think close to 30 years. Let's see how old he is.
But he's very knowledgeable, and it was impactful. That podcast was impactful.
He's 44 years old.
He's 44 years old.
Yeah, he's
no spring chicken. So he's lived those 44 years. And that's another thing. Some people, live to be 44, but they've been maybe a little bit private or secluded, or, they've lived their life according to what they see fit. Other people that live 44 are out there exposed to all kinds of experiences and so forth. And
Right.
so there's a saying, hey, he's a 44-year-old, let's say, but he hasn't lived, um, to the fullest. Um, who's to say? Because you choose your life and you want to live it the way you want to. So who's to
Well,
say in
yeah,
reality? But
I think some people in 20 years or 40 years live, see more and live more than some people that make it to 90. It was like a gentleman we
potentially,
were talking to the other day that he climbed Cucamonga Mount Mount Cucamonga, one of those, uh,
yeah,
and he says, "See that peak there with the uh, what's
with
it
the
called,
snow on it
with
or
the
whatever.
snow cap?
Yeah.
On the
Mm-hmm.
highest point
Mm-hmm.
on the right." So he's saying, I climbed that, and I went up that mountain multiple times, and now he's in his 80s
83.
and he can't climb it anymore. And
No,
he's saying that
he misses it.
he misses it, and he was actually comparing to his friends that never did those adventurous things. They don't know what they are missing out on. They don't even miss it. He says maybe it would have been better to not have even done it.
Well, I don't know about that. He was
But he was making that comparison in
right.
his 80s because he's like, I actually know what it felt like to do that.
Correct.
And I said, but you've lived, you experienced it, and they maybe lived, but maybe they didn't. Some people just kind of go through the years and the days and never fully experience, or take risks.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it depends on the person. But
It does.
for me, if you're
And
not
who's to
taking,
say? Really?
I
Who's to say?
for
I mean,
me, if you're not taking risks, you're not living. Now, up to what point? So is it driving like a motorcycle? What kind of risks are you referring to? And everybody has a different tolerance that they can handle on risks. Some people say if you're never riding a motorcycle, you're never living, I'm sure. So I'm like, I don't know that I'm going to ride a motorcycle. but this gentleman, it was interesting to hear that comparison.
it depends what you're passionate about. And that passion's going to drive your life and take you in a direction, whatever that direction may be.
Yeah.
So it's very difficult to compare. Okay, all these guys that have climbed mountains and all that, that's admirable. Okay, but maybe that's not your thing. But let's say karate is. So you go into jiu-jitsu or whatever. Or maybe, all these guys that do like skydiving, that, they love it and they do it over and over again. Or the gliding, they jump off a mountain and they start gliding. Those are, heavy duty risks,
Yeah.
but they love it. They sure get their adrenaline up, okay? But maybe you get your kicks, playing tennis,
Yeah.
playing football, learning a concerto to the best of your knowledge. So, it's hard to say to someone, oh, they've lived 20 years, but they haven't really truly lived life. Well, it's difficult to gauge and judge that
Mm,
because maybe they've been doing everything that they wanted all along.
that's true.
It's just not what you are into,
Yeah.
But they've been doing what they wanted all along. So they are living life to the
Yeah. From
fullest.
your perspective, you might say, oh, they're not. But to them, yeah,
Right,
that's a
right.
good point.
So, you just never know. So, you have to take everything with a grain of salt and uh, in the process of, analyzing things of that nature, you have to be quite careful, I think.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And put yourself in the other person's shoes. And that's one thing, as we talk to people and, you know, build relationships with people, and we like talking to people. We're, Immortal Technique in the podcast says whenever he walks into a room and there's someone there, he looks him in the eye. He grew up that you had to show, no matter how powerful the other person was, if it was a gang member or whatever, you show that they're there. You give them their respect, and I think that's just a common courtesy. Is you look people in the eye, you give them their respect, and that's why I think that we've been able to approach people and connect with new people. And the last 2 years that we've been in business together, you and I working together, we've been able to meet countless new people. Um, and build relationships with
Yeah.
some of them, right? Some people are closed, and
Right.
that's okay too, because like there's one guy that has his shop, right? And every time we go in and drop and say hello, he's not interested. So we stopped going in there. You know,
Correct.
he's not interested in in building a relationship,
Right.
and you don't want to force something either.
No, no, you don't, because it's not going to go anywhere. It's got to be a two-way street. And that goes for everything in life, by the way, whether it's a relationship or anything. I mean, I'm no expert on any of it, but, at some point, there's got to be some feedback,
Yeah,
positive or negative, and then you decide.
yeah,
But yeah, getting back to the point that we started with, sports, food, and music, they unite all the cultures.
yeah,
And it's just a fantastic thing to see.
yeah.
All
Cool.
right?
We'll wrap it up there.
All right. Take care.